So status, demos, topics, demos. I assume we have Matthias with only one T.
Yes.
Good, thank you. Do we have anyone else with demos?
Yes.
Oh, Antoine has demos. Imanshu, do you have demos? He's muted. He doesn't have a microphone. That's fine. You can write otherwise. I thought I heard you. He left. We scared him. But he did some great stuff that we merged and some more to come. Matthias and Sebastian, the demo. Okay, let's status, commits on Orchard 1. Should we ask Benedict to do the status of Orchard 1? We might ask him. He might not agree.
Why not? Why not?
Wow. Okay, let's do that. Let's be crazy.
Maybe after 1.11 is released. So let's consider that a milestone, or maybe 1.10.3.
Oh, I see what you mean. No, I just wanted for the last week.
We haven't done much, unfortunately.
That.
Yeah,
well,
but
so yeah. I saw that you commented on all the issues that were marked for 1.10.3 to unblock them because we're blocked on that, and most of them have been closed. There is just one more that we are waiting for a repro, and if we don't get any repro, I mean closed.
Well, so I've seen we have actually experienced possible errors when you are using certain features in a migration. So it's possible that we can do something about that on a lower level. But we'll see. It really depends on the repro.
Okay, so first let me open the issues that we're talking about, because otherwise people doesn't know. Orchard output. So there is only one that is marked for 1.10.3, so that means blocking. This one, Orchard.OutputCache, vital error, and there is a +1, and this. So I pinged the issue to see if anyone can repro that issue.
By the way, I would also consider the projections manager change, which there's a pull request for. About the possible filtering out possible duplicates from projection results.
Oh yeah, I was just asking for numbers. So did you try it? If you tried it, it's fine. I mean.
I haven't tried it, but I actually so I received an email notification about a comment which has performance investigation numbers, but I didn't find that actual comment. It seems like it's deleted, or I don't know.
Okay, maybe
a GitHub error. No.
Oh, he gave the numbers. Okay, 2 days ago.
Oh.
Good.
I actually can't see this comment on GitHub for some reason. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's there now.
With PR changes. Without, so it's faster now, not this one, but that's okay. Without group, so without group. Before, you see, without group it's slower.
Yeah, I don't know why is that, because it should be the same if you don't use groups. Because we actually discussed in the comments that if you don't have groups, then you shouldn't care about filtering duplicates, because you can't have duplicates. Yeah,
this is very empirical way of measuring performance. Control F5 in the browser and looking at the.
Yeah.
That's not how you do things. It's even easier to do things correctly, actually. Okay, well, it seems to be the same then. Okay. I will let you.
I think this one would be useful for 1.10.3 as well.
So merge. It's
but let's do some further. Oh, okay. Then 1.11. Let's do some further testing, maybe with SQL profiling from SQL Server Management Studio with SQL logging or something like that.
Are you doing it?
I'll take a look.
And it's not
also,
1.10.3, so it's not urgent. This one is blocking.
Okay.
And
so I will do performance testing and also review the PR itself.
Okay, and if it's just a null check, let's add a null check. This one. Okay. Otherwise, we have on 110x for the past week, localization fixing that translated day and month name should be split along space chart. We talked about it, I think, last week. The code was wrongly splitting things. It was splitting just with spaces, not removing the empty values or something like that. There was something wrong, actually. I can't remember what, but it was bad.
So it was the comma space string.
Oh, it was splitting by comma space. Yeah, super bad. And I wrote a comment on that. A Linus approved comment. We still don't know who wrote it. Was it Sipke? I don't remember.
I didn't check. Yeah, and I don't want to. I don't want to blame anyone.
Just for fun. So allowing IAD logging from any tenant in OpenID from Lombic. And update SpecFlow test case from another user, a new contributor. Updating all the SpecFlow tests for 1.11 because they changed. Many things changed, like we can access fields by name now and not numbers. That's good. You see? Beautiful. That's for Orchard 1, Orchard Core. So the dev branch is the fourth one. Oh no, it's the first one now. That will be hard. Okay. So what do we have? Jean-Thierry working on many things. Dynamic cache documentation, but I need to check that because it's not just documentation, it's also a fix. Lucene, which has been closed now because it's not the correct solution. This has been merged and this, I think, has been merged too. Let's see, work in progress, Jean-Thierry. Antoine working on tenant workflow activities. Imanchu, I need ability to send plain text emails in send email workflow task. So now there is a checkbox in the send email workflow task to send a raw body and not just HTML. PartialAsync has been merged in RazorShapeTemplateViewEngine. ShellHost is now IDisposable. Useless null operator, he fixed an issue he found by himself. This is message bus, so this is the branch distributed. So he's doing some features to support distributed systems like Orchard sites which are running on multiple hosts, and making the features and mostly using the Redis service, like locking, like signal, like synchronizing content items, cache invalidation, things like this. Adding indexing of back parts. So this is a big PR from Imanchu. The idea is that now anything which is in a back part gets indexed in the context of the containing content item. And he made another PR later to change how the properties are set, meaning adding more properties, keys for the index, so that it's easier to find items. That's why I was asking if you wanted to show a demo, Imanchu, if you have a demo to show that.
Yeah, sure. Let me bring up
In a few minutes, we have more demos.
Yeah, that's fine.
You can set up if you want, as long as it takes 5 to 10 minutes max. That's good.
Sorry, this is search indexing or something similar to projection field indexing?
Both.
Both. Oh,
I mean,
okay.
so this. I mean,
Even better.
I mean both. This is indexing, okay, and then there is a Lucene indexer that would get these values and index that in Lucene, and we have a Lucene query that will use these indexes from Lucene to query stuff. That is replacing projection. So this, yeah, so that's it. Just improvement on that. But that work. But the projections in Orchard.1 was working the same way, but with SQL. We were indexing any field or any part, anything, putting it in SQL, and then projection was just using these to query the data. It's just everything was in one feature. Now it's completely separate. The indexing, the fact that Lucene takes the index and takes the indexed things and stores them, and the fact that we query Lucene, these are 3 different components. Okay, in Orchard.1 it was one component, projection, done. Which means this thing will also apply to SQL when we implement the feature that stores the indices in SQL. Then upgrade packages to Netcore 2.15. This is a distributed branch, null checks on shell context. This is a distributed branch. This is Antoine updating the dependencies. This is a distributed branch. Nothing. Himanshu updating the field names. I can show you actually because we have no documentation about that and it's interesting. Or pull request. I will just show you the names of the 1,000 pull requests closed. That's a lot. And
I think it was 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah,
I got it. So the idea is now that, for instance, if team member being a back part of the landing page, the title part of team member will be also indexed in the title part global thing. So you can filter on the title part of a team member or on title part, and you will get all the values of title part from that thing. And you explain the kinds of queries you wanted to do. But I will let you show it just to show that the kind of fields that are added to the index for parts and fields, actually.
Yep.
So tenant workflow, this is Antoine, dev. This is because we merged this thing that points to code.jquery.com instead of googleapis.com for jQuery because it's blocked in China. Then we have Jasmine, who keeps working on the options editor. Jean-Thierry, who is very focused on the distributed branch. And Matthias, whose work on admin trees. We got a demo last Thursday during the triage, and we'll get an updated demo right now. So I will make you presenter. Oh, that's not what I want. So you can start if you want, Matthias, and I will also add Himanshu and Antoine. So Matthias has been working on the content tree feature. Bertrand is not here to see that. It's not the content tree anymore. It's the tree. It's the admin menu for everything that can be configured. So including content. So I'll let you show everyone the progress.
Yes. Can you see my screen?
Everything's perfect.
Okay. The module is more or less the same that I showed a couple of weeks ago, but I added a few improvements. First, now you can build menu items hierarchically.
So we are missing some steps here. For you, it's obvious, but not for everyone. Even for myself, I'm like, well. So
okay.
you are on the screen admin trees that you reach by going in configuration admin trees. Okay, they are called admin trees.
Yes, with this module, you can build custom admin menus. Any module developer can add their own admin nodes to the system, so the user can build different admin menus from it. The thing works like this. I can add an admin tree. I will call it, for example, content items and lists. And then I can add nodes. Right now we have only 3 nodes, but any module can subscribe to this thing and add its own nodes. The most basic node is the link tree node. I can say, for example, and now I have here this menu item. Then I can add, for example, a content type node.
Can you change the icon of the link tree node?
Right now, I can't.
Okay.
I can add a CSS class, but the icon is not from a CSS attribute, it's from different. I can show all content types, for example. And now I have here my link.
So it's a content type link, but it points to what? To listing the content types of this type, okay.
And what is what it's new now is that I can build hierarchies.
Wow.
So now I have my content item.
Boom.
Types here.
There is too much magic. You didn't even hit save. You just moved it and it refreshed the page?
Yes, when I move, there is a post back and I just
That's a post, okay.
After I add the page reload.
Okay.
I can, for example, have here only the content items that I want. And if I want these to be on the content, I can simply, sorry, as a new node, I can call it content. Put it here. And now my content.
Just by the name.
Yes. The names are merged after all the trees built. The names are merged. If I want the links here.
So will it work with localization? Because the content string is localized. So you need to be careful that once we localize it to contentido or whatever, it will still work if we type content. So it should match by the localized string before it's localized. But maybe it will work. Yeah, we'll see that, but I assume it should work. But that's awesome. It's crazy.
Now I can add a new link, for example, and call it my list.
That's awesome. So this one will display all the lists that are available in the system. So the list module created a list tree node type. You can select which list you want to see. Okay. Boom. Blog. Beautiful.
No, there is an issue in the
I see.
Right now it's difficult, as it is now, it's difficult to, I think it's difficult to discover where to add articles to a blog.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
it's going to be much
Menu
more.
and blog, they should be first level items because otherwise we never find them.
If you have 10 blocks, they will be here.
Yeah.
If you have football teams, they will be here, as long as you add it to the menu.
So you should name something blogs, and the other node will be blog, because blog is the name of the blog, or? Why do we see blog and blog?
Because...
Can you name something? The blogs or something like that?
Yes, it takes the name of the list content type, and then inside...
The name of the content item, yeah.
Yes.
So if I want the blog as a first level, I could just create a link tree node.
There is this set here, so you can have the.
I see. Okay, that's why I would expect by default.
And then you have a.
Yeah, that's that's better. That's what I would expect.
I think that's it. I handled an edge case where if I go now here and disable, for example, the list module.
So should the content main menu and the new main menu be 3 nodes, dynamic ones then, so people can change them and not make them by default? You see, like this one should maybe using the configurable thing. This way we can change it if we want to remove it. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it can be a good idea to have it enabled by default and have a recipe step.
Yeah. So this content menu, okay, this content could be a 3-node type that displays the listable content types like we do today, and then people can disable it if they want or keep it. I know we should have something. This menu item, the content menu item, should be configurable. Even if it's a default 3-node with some default configuration with like all listable content types as a checkbox, but that should be configurable so that if we want to remove it, we can remove it. We can add more things. We can change the filter. Okay, we'll talk about it. But that's very good. That's awesome. There are too many enabled checkboxes for my taste, because I don't see why I would disable it. I would just delete it. Like I see enable here, I see enable in many places in the screens everywhere. I'm like, if there was no enable disable, I would be fine with that. Just delete the node and done.
It's better.
I don't know, because when we change the tree, I'm not sure.
I can remove it from the list.
Maybe there are too many of them. Maybe there are some.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them are useful. I don't know how many you have, because I see that everywhere. Every screen I see an enable disable. I'm not sure it's the same thing, or
even here I can disable.
So here I see admin nodes. What's the difference between admin nodes here and admin trees?
A tree has
what? There are 2 levels of things.
Yes.
Is it? Oh, but okay. So why?
Because of flexibility, I think. I can have here for Android, I can enable this.
2 levels. So these are groups of, but can I have just one admin tree and have all my admin nodes inside and manage everything from everywhere? Or is there only one root per admin?
Yeah, it could be simpler, but maybe in the future we think that we need that.
Give me 1 minute, I need to get my power. I'm back.
The labels in the buttons should be the actions, not the state. It should be
Yep. Enable, disable.
when it's disabled, and disable when it's Enabled.
Yes.
Mhm.
Instead of enabled, say disable enable. Okay.
I will play with that and see if we need the double level of items. I need to understand what's there.
I made the app here already. So
Yeah, I saw that. So I knew you will make a demo. That's beautiful. That's really good. Yeah, I will try that. Anyone should try it. Everyone should try it and give feedback on that. That's awesome. Great. Thank you, Matthias. Himanshu, you can just start sharing and show what you want to show.
Yep. Let's see. Desktop. All right. You should be able to see my screen.
Not yet. Not yet. But I see you sharing. Okay. And now we can see. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the default site that comes out of the Orchard course setup. And I'm trying to figure out why this thing won't go up. But okay. I can just bring this down.
You need to click on the pin icon on the top right. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I did. Oh, there you go. Thank you. And so we have a content item in it. It only has one. If we look at the list of content items, there's a few others I created for testing the email issue I had created. I closed that, by the way. I can't reproduce it anymore, so something must have gotten fixed along the way. So this content item is the landing page, and it contains all this stuff. It contains a back part of service types, a back part of project types, team, milestone types, team member types, and client types. And so I added team member, and now if I go and query, build a simple query string, and I just want to query for this token called Himanshu in title part and HTML body part, you can see it's coming back with, yep, I found it. I found this word Himanshu somewhere in this content item, which is exactly what we wanted to achieve. And of course it works. I can change this to, I can remove that word, and now my query should not come back with anything. Indexing is done. Now if I query, it should say, sorry, I didn't find that. I can go look for Swami.
How do you know indexing is done?
So indexing is happening on each content item the moment you hit publish. I guess it adds it as a task which gets executed almost instantaneously. I don't think it's synchronous, but I think it is executed pretty close to the publish.
Well, it's synchronous in terms of when the request will be done only when it's done. So even if it's a task, it's part of the request. So the request will wait for it. So when you're back, that's the idea.
Yep.
That's why people are confused with asynchronous in the context of the request, or does it run as a background task even if the request is done? That's the difference.
Right. I think it runs as a synchronous. I think it runs synchronously as part of the publish step.
I was not sure it wasn't like that, so I don't remember.
Yeah, but it's limited just to that content item that you're publishing. So the scope is small. And I can do things like I can say, okay, I just want to see, show me everything that anything that has the word Swami in this field called team member.title part, and it should come back with one entry, or it's in a back part named team member containing items of type team member and the field title part within it, and it should come back with that. Or I want to restrict it to this one, to all pages of type landing page. And
well, you could do that, or use the content type field.
Or we could do use the content type field.
So wouldn't it be interesting then instead of having the same data multiple times with different field names, have it in one field name, but then be able to filter the scope, which would be in this case either team member, team.team member, landing page.team.team member, and then the scope will have team member and team.team member and landing page.team.team member. 3 values for the scope field and 1 value for the title part.
We look into that.
I'm just thinking out loud while I see your example, which works, but maybe conceptually that would be better to have a scope of the value. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid. Okay, I don't know. That's the same thing because we have n entries whatsoever, and then it's just that's okay. Don't worry. I'm good. I don't even remember that a simple query could also do field search.
Right. So that's it. That's for the demo.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. And yeah, so simple query string is a kind of query from Elasticsearch language. The documentation is, let me share my screen, because not everyone knows about that thing. So if I go to read the docs and we go to Lucene query, Lucene, you see we explain the steps here. Lucene query we can do online, and there should be a link. Oh, there is no link from the doc. There is a link from the application itself, but we are using the Elasticsearch query language, DSL. Elasticsearch, this one. So you see here, this is exactly what Himanshu typed. Instead of using a match all query, he used a simple query, but everything is documented here. So if I look for simple query, where is the simple query here? APIs, search APIs. No, that's not it. What is that? Setup. Query DSL. Okay, query DSL, everything is here. And there should be, where is the simple query?
Full text queries.
Full text queries. Boom, boom, boom. Simple query string. Okay. Yep, fields. Okay. Yeah, I didn't remember that. Yeah, that's, and I mean that's obvious that you have to list the fields that you want to search in. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, and default filter. You see, that's the kind of things you can do. So this is typically what you will do from a free-form text that you fit in a text box. You will look for that the words directly. Yeah, that's good. There are many more ways to query things. The most common will be the term query. So you can search for a specific value in a specific field without full text analysis, like the stored value. You see, I want the user to be named Kimchi. Okay, you don't want full text analysis here, tokenization. You just want this value to be in the user. So to query, that's what you will usually do. For searching, you will do full text. Beautiful, love it. Best idea. Thank you, Himanshu. Questions? Did I miss anything? Okay, and next demo, Antoine. Antoine.
Yes. So this is about workflow activities that will allow you to create tenants. This is currently under development, but I can show you what I wanted to do basically. So when you are in the workflows, I can go up. I created a tenant, a new workflow called create tenant. I can add a new task. There is a category about tenant. and I will be able to create tenant, enable or disable one, or set up a tenant. So, for example, when you create a tenant, you can fill many properties as the name you want to create, and this is basically the properties you can find in the setup screen or in the setup of a new tenant, like the URL prefix, like the kind of database provider you will use, etc., etc., and the recipe. You can use liquid expression in that properties. So my simple scenario is to use a form to submit the values. So I have two examples, but I will show you the setup one because, or I will, maybe I will change and I will show you. The task that will trigger the setup of a tenant will be an HTTP request event. So you can specify which kind of HTTP method it will use, and it provides you a URL that you will be able to paste in your paste in your form. Sorry. So I created in my content definition the content type named site that has a flow part, and I created a new site, I added a widget form, and inside I added a few inputs, label and inputs. So the action property, I pasted the URI, the URL that will trigger my workflow task, and then I can add properties for the site name, the tenant name, and for example the email for the admin user, and at the end a submit button. So it will look like this. You can fill these properties, and when you look at the forms documentation, you can see that you can use this kind of liquid code to retrieve the values of the form submitted. So in my setup task, I can use liquid code to retrieve the input in my form. So you see the tenant, the type name, the email, and for the rest I put hard-coded values. I want to set up a site with a user called admin with this password, this kind of database provider, and this kind of recipe. So the result is if I want to create a new site, this kind of URL prefix for this email. Refresh my tenants. This is created here, and this is already set up.
Oh, the setup is creating.
Yes, because I don't know how to do it for now. I could have used my workflow.
The sound is very bad. I know what. So you need two things. You need to stop using the trackpad, because I'm sure you are using a trackpad. Every time you swipe and you type, it does some buzz in the microphone, and also or you need a headset, so you don't record all the weird noise that you type on your keyboard.
Okay.
We can ask Orchard Foundation to send one to you. That will be very productive.
So I can show you the other way to do it.
So I didn't hear anything because of weird noises. So
Sorry.
You say the setup tenant activity also creates the tenant, not just set up.
If it doesn't exist, it creates it.
Okay, that's weird. I don't know. Because why can't you just link the create then the setup in the same workflow? So it's two different activities, but they will run in one go if you want. Shouldn't it work?
Maybe.
You see what I mean? This way the setup should just set up. If it's not there, it should just fail. No, I can't set up something that doesn't exist.
But
and if you need to,
if between two activities, I don't know if it's lost or not.
I don't think so, because creating a tenant won't restart anything. It will just, no, I think it will work. And the good example is that setup also creates a tenant in the same request, so that will be fine. You are from the default tenant, so everything should always work. That's just my. I'm not saying that it's bad to create it if you don't have if you are using a setup tenant, maybe you have all the information and that's fine. So maybe you should keep it, but you should be able to do it in. Okay, well, let's keep it. If you just want to create, use a create activity. If you want to create and to set up, then it will also create it. Okay, I'm fine with that. It's kind of weird, but I assume that might be simpler if you really want to create it and set up in one go. This way you don't have to re-enter all the information in both screens. I don't know. Or maybe you added some data in the setup screen because it had also to create it, and maybe you didn't need it if it was already created. And I think that's what, yes, I think that's it. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Okay, I let you deal with it because you have more experience with these activities. Where is the blog? I didn't see the blog. Is the blog ready? I didn't see it.
Yes.
And okay, and then you could also have a redirect activity that redirects you to the site when it's done.
Yes. You can redirect a new page. You can send an email. You can do many
Beautiful.
things. Yeah.
Beautiful. And the goal is really to be able to redo the SAS module / demo we did a few weeks ago, but just using workflows, or the module will have a workflow already instantiated by default that we can configure and change the behavior of. Also, just to explain why almost everything is templateable, is that you could decide to set a value hard-coded, like you did with the password and the recipe, but we could also bind the recipe from a list of values in the form, because maybe we want to expose the 2 recipes or 3 recipes to the users. They will choose, and then it will be bound to the field in the setup tenant task. Some of them might not be bound, for instance, the database. well, maybe we might select which database we want, but that's an edge case. Otherwise, an improvement might be to have a checkbox in the form, in the activity form, so that we can select from a list, or with the checkbox, if the checkbox is checked, use a template. So that, for instance, the database, you could show the list of database that we allow, instead of asking the user to type the database name, and a checkbox to say, no, you can type if you want, if it's dynamic. Same thing for the recipes. Maybe you want to list the setup recipes, or have a checkbox that will hide it and show the templated input. Might be easier. But that's already great. We can do great things with that. We can do the SAS module already. Great. Yeah, this thing like this should work. But I agree there might be some duplicates in the two activities. In case, yeah, because maybe when the tenant is created, it might not have everything, and you still need to provide it in the setup. I see. So here it's creating. Yeah, so yeah, and then yeah, okay, good, and yeah, the next step will be to show is the email, and then the email validation that actually does the setup and things like this to be sure that the user has an email. And I don't know. Or no, to plug it to the registration. So when you register, you get an email, and when the email is validated, boom, you have the site set up. This is, I think, the flow we wanted. But that's good. That's great. Awesome. Thank you. Is that it? That's all we wanted to show? Thank you. Just great demos today. Oh my God. Content trees, indexing, better indexing, taxonomy or taxonomy. Taxonomy, it's me. Tenant workflows. And I will show you taxonomies. I made some progress. Well, I made some progress. I'm back to the progress I had before, but differently. So I redid the taxonomy module, but not using the back parts like I showed a couple of months ago. I did it completely independently from back parts because I explained last time. I had to review to rewatch the video. I explained that there were some limitations with back parts for taxonomy. It was nice to have a prototype, but it was not a good idea. And I followed another suggestion I gave last time. I did it using the same way that we do menus. So I have a content type called color, okay, which just has a title part. Trust me, just as a title part. And when I go to new, I can create a new taxonomy. Okay, and when you create a new taxonomy, it has a title, it has an alias, which is optional. It's not even added by default. Yes, maybe it's added by default, but it's optional. We don't need the alias for taxonomy. And it will ask you for a term content type. So in this case, I will select color, but it can be any content type. You can have a taxonomy of taxonomies. Doesn't make any sense. Maybe it makes some sense, but I'm not sure which one yet. So I already have a taxonomy which is called colors, and obviously when we have the admin tree module, I will have a taxonomies tree node so we can list all the taxonomies directly. I have one called colors, and these colors contains blue, light blue, super light blue, red, light red, and you see the hierarchy. Okay, this is the same editor as the menu items. So when you set a taxonomy, the editor will show up, and you can add colors at the root or add colors at the under some leaves of the tree. Then, if I want to add dark red under red, I will do add. It shows up the standard editor for a color content item, and I can add dark red. Publish it, and now it's part of this thing. And everything here, like I showed 2 months ago, is stored in one content item. The taxonomy is the only document that contains all the terms. They are all also content items, but contained in the taxonomy content item. Okay? Every content item, term or taxonomy has a .terms property. Directly a terms property at the root level of the content item. It's not in the part or in the dynamic field. It's .terms. Like you do .content item ID, you can do .terms. I don't have any debug tool to show you the document, but that's how it works. Just to simplify the way we template the taxonomy and manipulate the values, I made it this way. I prefer that. So I can then save a draft or publish my content item. If I try to leave, like in the menu, well, it's stored, it worked because it was added. That's weird. Did I save publish? Did I say publish? That's weird. It should have asked me to save and not save it automatically. Or maybe that's how it works. I don't know. Oh, yeah, I know. This is when you move things around. If I click there and then go to content items, yes, okay, it asks me to confirm. And then, so what I did then, like last time, leave. The article content type has a color taxonomy field, which means that when I go inside an article, I have the colors field, and I can select colors, and I see that now dark red is back. I broke, you see red should be on the left level, I broke it, I will fix it, but I have my 2 items here, light blue and light red. I will remove light red and select dark red and publish it. And it doesn't work beautifully. I just fixed it this morning. So you can see here light blue. I don't see the red. I don't know why. I will have to check why, but I did some helpers this morning to help that. So I will remove the change I did to show it in an article because by default it's not showing it. I did some Orchard helper extensions, get taxonomy term async and get taxonomy terms hierarchy async. So this one will give you the term content item based on a taxonomy content item ID and a term content item ID, which are 2 things that we can find in the taxonomy field. So when we have access to a field, we can get the taxonomy content item ID for this field and all the terms that have been checked for this field. This is why in the view here of the taxonomy field view, what it's supposed to do is for each term content item ID of the field, it will load the term based on the taxonomy and the content item ID here. So it should find all of them, and right now it's not displaying all of them, so I have to check why. So it's using this helper. I'm trying that just to see that we can actually do something with the taxonomies. I haven't done the liquid helpers yet, but I will, because otherwise you just get IDs. The taxonomy content item ID is a standard content item ID that can be accessed and using the default content item management APIs or liquid filters to get the taxonomy. And once we have the taxonomy, we can access all its terms. That's okay because it's just .terms. But if we want to get the terms as a content item, or to get the ones which are selected from another content item, we need to find the term from the hierarchy in the taxonomy. So this is why we have helper, to recursively find the content item. It doesn't also have indices. I think I didn't try at least the field index, so we can search for items which are tagged. I have to check that. This might work, or this will work probably. What we need also now is to support, I will create another field to store the hierarchy. So when we search for a top term, it will give you also the content items which are linked with a subterm. Okay, so there is progress on that, and but that should be soon done, because I mean I can have issues is displaying the values, but I just need to test the field indexation. I just need to test the helpers to do the liquid helper, and then it's usable. What we won't have for now is, well, that might already work, which is that if I go on the colors here and I say view, here it works. You see colors, it's displaying, because I don't have an alias yet. Well, I should have an alias. Oh, I don't have an auto route. I didn't set an auto route to taxonomy. It's using this thing, but it's displaying the color taxonomy. So I don't have a view for the taxonomy part. It could display all the terms. I'm not sure I want to display. Yeah, I will have to display also to provide a route for the subterms. Because the subterms are not accessible directly, I might just provide something like based on the name of the main taxonomy / a term name or an alias. I will see what I can do. I'm not sure I want to do anything for now, but it might be in later step. But taxonomy is getting some progress, so that's good at least. Questions? No questions. Exactly sharp on time. If you don't have any question about anything, this will be the end of the meeting. Waiting for questions. No questions. And next week we ship 1.10.3 because Benedek decided that he will do that next week. Good. Beautiful. Okay, thanks everyone.
Great.